Already screwing up. Right off the bat, screwing up. You take 3 weeks off, you can't even figure out how to do anything. Have you missed this? 3 weeks without reality. We get it. You feel terrible for listening to the Fanboy podcast, but you had no other options. Have no fear. Dattitude is here, and it starts now if I can figure out how to press the right button.
If you're looking for the latest scoop and in-depth interviews on the Saints, the NFL, the Pelicans, LSU, along with the best bets of the week, then lucky you. Along with high-powered, in-the-know guests who cover our teams, Jim Derry brings plenty of Dattitude. And he'll always tell you the way it is, or at least the way he thinks it is.
Where you at, Dattitude family? Welcome back. It has been 3 weeks. What have you done? Going swimming? It's hot. Try to stay out of the rain. Try to watch old shows. Did you catch up? Did you go back and watch any old Dats? I don't know. That's a little bit much. But how about today? We are back. This is Dattitude, episode number 388, presented by Evangeline Securities for a Friday, July the 11th, 2025. I'm your host, Jim Derry. In case you didn't know that, you might have forgot. 35 years in the New Orleans sports media scene. Thanks for being a big part of the Dat family. Got some announcements coming up. We got to catch up on a lot of things. But first, you know what is most special about our show? If you're new to the show, you're like, what is this dude? Who is this guy? You know what's most special about our show? You can be a part of today's episode and every episode by typing in your comments, no matter where you're watching. We're live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We are back. It's going. No more breaks, man. Maybe one or two here and there, but just for a day. No more breaks. We're going through football season now, baby. You type in your comments every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. And if you're watching after the fact or listening on any of the major podcast platforms, you can get in touch with me. You know how to do it. On X at Jim Derry Jr., via email at jderry@theadvocate.com. I got lots of correspondence. Look, I actually met a couple Dat watchers in person while I was gone. I got emails. I got some texts, some comments. It's been great, man. I'm glad. I'm glad y'all missed me. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad we're back, and we're gonna have some fun today, talking about the Saints as they are just 11 days from camp beginning on Tuesday, July the 22nd. Oh, by the way, if you have not subscribed, and I got a new slide for this. I know we got a new look. We got all kinds of stuff. If you have not done so already, please subscribe to our YouTube page. It only takes a second. If you're watching on Facebook or if you're watching on YouTube, you haven't subscribed yet, do that. Give us a like. Click the little like button. You know, me and our friend, my friend Algorithm. Yeah, he likes it. If you're listening and you can't see on the screen what is coming up on today's show, it's not going to be just catching up. We are going to do some catching up, but Luke Johnson is coming up at 11:30 this morning. We're going to be talking about all the things going on again as Saints enter camp. I want to ask him when he takes vacation because I've been watching. I've been going through the NOLA.com Saints, NOLA.com/sports/Saints. These dudes don't take a break. They got stuff coming out like every day. And so when I reached out to him, I'm like, hey, he might be on break. No, he's here. Like, you want to come up this morning? Sure, I'll come on. He's going to be on at 11:30. We're going to start. We're going to talk about, obviously, the biggest concerns, top hopes entering camp. Well, some of them are intertwined, the concerns and the hopes. They're kind of the same thing. We're going to talk a lot about the quarterback position. Of course, that is the number one topic going into training camp. We're going to talk a whole lot about that. And I'm going to ask the question. I know some of y'all won't believe me when I say this, but maybe it makes sense to start the rat. What are you talking about, Derry? Even the people who are big Spencer Rattler lovers are going to ask, what the hell are you talking about? I'm going to tell you why I think that it might make sense. It's starting to grow on me why it might make sense. We're going to get into that with Luke, all that later on. I got a lot of questions for him. We're going to try to squeeze it in a short amount of time because he's only going to have about a 20 or 30 minute segment. So we're going to get all that on. You know what? Let's get to some of the comments here this morning. I know the regulars are back here. Nathan is first. Who dat? Hope I had a great vacation. I did. I'll get into my vacation in a little bit. You know what? I didn't do a whole lot. I kind of stayed around here, but it was good. I'll tell you some of the things going on. Charles Mangus is here. Good morning. Who dat? Seems like it's been ages. It does. I tell you, I really only had 2 weeks off because I've been working this whole week to get some of these graphics together. What do you think of the graphics, by the way? We're trying to simplify some things, okay? We're trying to make things more YouTube friendly. So I've simplified some things. We're having fun with it. That's where we are. That's why we look different. What do y'all think? Earl's Picks. Hell yeah, we back. UBN. What's my name? I forgot. What is my name? Who the hell am I? Dylan Smith. Let's go. Been too long without Dattitude. Miss my people. How about them national champion Tigers? That's what happened since we've been gone. Right after we went off, LSU won another natty, 8th ratty. Mark Satanovich thinks that Rat will be the QB1. Probably not for the same reason I think he has a chance. I actually don't think he's going to be the QB1, but I'm going to tell you why it makes sense. I'm going to ask Luke what he thinks. He wrote a little column about it. Mark Gapsky, he's here. Padres fan. Well, good morning. We're back. Who dat? 109 degrees in Vegas today. No, thank you. I'll take the 92 we have. Actually, yesterday was it's kind of nice. We had a cloud cover. It never rained here in Mandeville, but I know it stormed all around us. And I went to the South Shore a couple days ago with my daughter to meet my cousin for lunch, and then we went and did a segment on Fletcher Mackel's show for Sunday. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But it stormed on us. We're over there. But I'll tell you what, as much as I don't like rain, this time of year, I'll take it, baby. 85 and wet beats 94 and sunny this time of year. Gerard Semino, good morning. I did enjoy my vacation. Ron Hendrickson, top of the morning for the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Mark Satanovich says, cut the grass. It just got cut like 2 days ago. Looks good out there. It actually does. Phil Mariandi, welcome back. Well, thank you. Charles, yes, 12 more shows to 400. We haven't figured out who we're going to. We haven't decided exactly what we're going to do for 400. We have different ideas. We're talking about, Gabe and I were talking about maybe doing a marathon show. And I don't know if I want to do that or not. I don't know if I have it in me to do. We're going to see. We're going to do something different. Maybe. I think we're going to try to have a special guest for 400. I think that's what I'm leaning to right now. Eugenie Tobin, welcome. I like them emojis. They look good. Mark says, how was my vacation? It was great, man. Again, I'm going to get into it in just a minute. I did want to get to some of the comments. A-Town, good morning. Welcome back. Darlene. Homa is here from Homa. All right. I do want to get into a couple things. I tell you, catch up. I got some more comments to get to. A lot of things to do before Luke comes on in 20 minutes. What happened while we were gone? All right, well, obviously, we just told you. The most important thing is LSU won their 8th national championship. Woohoo! I don't have the clap sound. I forgot to put it in there. I got a Stanley for my drinks. That's pretty cool. Cubs colors, by the way. Just water in there today. I know y'all were wondering about my racetrack coffee for the regulars. The racetrack, I haven't been going to racetrack for my coffee because I found this Cuban coffee that I absolutely love. I fell in love with. Can you fall in love with coffee? Well, I did. So I've been brewing it at home, and I drank some this morning. Man, you think I had Dattitude before? Wait till now, baby. It'll be crazy. Anyway, LSU won their natty, and I got a new Stanley. That's what I did on vacation. Next. No, I'm just kidding. Had the 2 weeks. It's a good thing we went on vacation because right when we were going on vacation, I noticed the last show we did, I noticed it was warmer in the studio than usual. The office, the studio, whatever you want to call it. Well, I kept turning it down. Not getting any cooler. AC went out in the studio / office. Had to get that fixed. That was fun. Not cheap, not fun. But thank God we had the time off because I couldn't get anyone out here until Monday of this week. So they fixed it Monday of this week, and then I was back in the studio working on things from inside of here. But let me tell you, it was not fun. That was the bad. Obviously, LSU winning the Natty is good. I got to reacquaint myself with the family. My older daughter, she's been all over the place. So I haven't seen much of her, though. She's on her second trip since the last time we've done a show. She's on her second trip, both without us. She's living her best life. We went to the Titanic Museum exhibit. If y'all haven't seen that, I think it's still there. Make sure you get a chance to go. Absolutely worth it. Went to the beach. A few cool new cool restaurants. I told y'all that we went downtown and went to tape a segment with Fletcher Mackel earlier this week. What's today? Friday? I think it was Wednesday. We went Wednesday. Went to meet my cousin for lunch, and then so I showed this picture on Facebook. If you don't follow me on Facebook, I don't show my kids very often because I just don't like to. But this one's worth showing. Thanks to Fletcher Mackel, got a chance to go down there and put my daughter Lucy on the set. She got to sit where the news anchor sit, and she thought it was the greatest thing ever. So she's been home. My other daughter been going on trips, so she got to stay with Daddy. And look, I just thought this was cool. I really thank Fletcher for allowing us to do that. We had a whole lot of fun being able to do that. She is definitely living her best life as well. It was brother-in-law's birthday. Most of you know that Phil Anselmo. Some of you know who Phil Anselmo is, some of you don't. We got to have his birthday during my vacation. He is almost exactly 2 months older than I am. It was a few days before he left for Birmingham, England, to play ahead of Ozzy Osbourne's final appearance with Black Sabbath. So my brother-in-law is the lead singer for Pantera, Down, a bunch of other bands, and we got to spend some time together last week. There's a picture of us at his house, birthday party, having a little fun, enjoying. Like I said, brother-in-law is always older than me, but we had a good time celebrating his birthday, and that's pretty much what I did on vacation. The rest of the time, I will say I was pretty active, though, for being home. And we went to the beach for one day, but I was busy. I did not sit. Usually when I have a break, I like to just sit around. I did not sit around. I was busy. I stayed busy. It was fun. Abbas Cooper is in California. What else we got here? UBN says, start the rat. Man, I hit my head on vacation. Again, I'm going to explain to you why I think it might be a good idea. Cecil Evans, good morning. Welcome back. Gum popping game ball Mick is still unfortunately running the ship. Oh, man. You're all. Is that how I thought we were going to start positive. We keep it positive, brother. He says he feels there's a sense of a fresh start like in 86 and 06 with no USFL influx and no breeze. That's his way of saying he ain't confident. Well, look, what do you consider good? Okay. Where are we? Did the Saints have to be 9-8 for you to feel like it's a successful season? It shouldn't be that way. They're not going to finish 9-8. I mean, I'm just saying, let's get realistic here. They're not going to finish 9-8. They're going to finish 8-9. It's going to be record-wise. It's not going to be a good season. Okay. I mean, what's the ceiling? What's the floor? We're going to get into all those things. We're going to start our NFL previews a little later than usual. I usually start them next week, but I'm going to do them as daily shorts. Okay. So each team is going to get 3 minutes. That's how we're going to do our NFL previews. Now, the Saints, obviously, when we get to the Saints, we're going to do a longer preview than that. But it's going to be just me. And then maybe at the end of each division, I'll get Gabe's take on what he thinks about, what I did in the division. We haven't really discussed it yet. But those are probably going to start probably the beginning of August. I got to figure out this. Got to look at the calendar and figure out when we want to end and then work backwards. But what is a realistic expectation of what we think this team might finish? What is good? What is bad? I mean, realistically, I would have never said this last year because I didn't say this last year. They went 5-12. It was awful. It was an awful season. Obviously, things had to change. We said things had to change before last year, and they didn't. So things have changed now. What do we feel? What is an acceptable record? Well, theoretically, realistically, 4-13 wouldn't be a terrible record. As bad as this sounds, if they improve from week 1 to week 18, they get better, and you can see the improvement coming, and you feel better about where this team is, and you go in the offseason. There is a way. I'm not saying that I'm going to feel great if they're 4-13, But I'm saying there's a way you could feel good if they're 4-13 or 5-12. This team is not, record-wise, it's not, let's be realistic. It's not going to be good, okay? There are ways this team can make us all feel better. Chris Johnson, good morning. Mark, man, you're just rolling with the rat. They're high. I doubt very seriously Rattler jerseys are in high demand anywhere. I'm not dogging on a rat. I just doubt seriously. Are you being serious? Maybe. Okay. Lewis Jacobson, glad I'm back. I'm glad I'm back. I really am. I really am glad I'm back. Terrence, them Houdat boys in San Antonio are ready for a great season. I'll give you a shout out. How do you say that? The old sports bar? Is that how you say it? I don't know. Gabe's closer to San Antonio than I am. He has no idea. Let's see. Abbas Cooper from California. Joanne Drilling Price. Bethany Beach, Delaware. Nice. We got Delaware in the house. Man, we're rolling. We're all over the place. Earl's picks, marathon would be much like work. Yeah. To do 400. You can have some fun. So you can just enjoy myself with the 400. You know, it was going to be, we're going to do it in a fun way. We're going to do, I don't know, we're going to try to have guests on and just let random guests come on and see who came on for 12 hours. I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I think it's probably not a good idea. I don't know. Barry Ulay, good morning. Welcome back. Had a great trip to Omaha. I bet you did. Go Tigers. That was some fun. UBN says the most important thing that happened while I was going is he went to Wrigley. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Ron Hendrickson, you're getting ahead of me. Just curious about how I feel about the new Saints helmet. Pair it with the color rush union. You got yourself a look that other teams will envy. What's he talking about if you don't know? And I'm going to ask Luke about this when he comes on. He's coming on in 12 minutes. There you go. There's the new Saints helmets. I got to be honest. I'm not really a fan. I don't get it. What's with the white all of a sudden that they love the white? I don't love the white. I mean, again, y'all could tell me what y'all feel about them. And I know they go with the color rush, so it's going to be like all white. I like the black helmets better. If they're going to wear an alternate an alternate helmet, I'll just like the black helmets better. I don't know. I mean, I know, look, I'm picky. To me, it just didn't do anything for me. So I was like, okay. So that's how I feel about it. Mark wants to know if Pantera opened for Ozzy. They were part of a giant group that opened for Ozzy. Guns N' Roses, Metallica were there. Pretty cool, man. I wouldn't know. I just have my little podcast here. Charles says his wife and he saw LSU win the Natty. They're planning to see some games at the box. She wants the best seats. Created a monster. Yeah. Happens. Oh, and Attilio, good morning. Glad I'm back. I'm glad too. Chris Roth, now there you go. PCA and the Cubs. They're going to be playing in October. I hope so, man. Looks good right now. PCA, Pete Crow Armstrong, the first player in baseball history to have 25 homers, 25 stolen bases, and 70 RBIs before the All-Star break. It's insane. John Carter, good morning. We will be okay. One way or the other, we will be okay. Cecil says he was being positive. I'm sorry, I misread. 4 to 6 wins is probably a good season. How about them helmets? I know I'm probably going to be in the minority, by the way, with the helmets. Gabe says about the helmets, he'll take a nothing burger for 500, Alex. It's not Alex anymore. It doesn't sound right. I don't even remember what his name is. What's his name? The really smart dude. Ken. Yeah. It doesn't sound the same. Doesn't work. Just doesn't work. Dylan's right. Improvement through the season, getting better and better. David says he's not a fan of the thick stripe down the helmet that they keep using. You know, I'm not really either. And I know they had that in the black helmet too. And I didn't like I don't like those fleur-de-lis in there that are, I don't know. It's not true that I hate everything new. That's not true. I like the black helmets. I think they could have tweaked it and made it a little better. I really like the black helmets. I wouldn't want them to wear it all the time. But Earl says he likes it. Abbas Cooper is booing me, I think, because he likes the helmets. A-Town likes the black helmets. Nathan says he loves the white helmets, didn't hate the black ones, though. Mark Gapsky says he loves the white helmets. Lots of fire there. Mr. Cooper says the black helmets look better. I agree. Look. I'm going to ask Luke about the helmets for sure. Brian Cabot is here. Good morning. It's almost time. The helmets. I know. It is almost time. 11 days till camp. I don't remember the first preseason game, but it'll be here before we know it. Still a week before anyone, one thing about the show, and I went back and looked in time when I usually go on vacation. I usually go on vacation a week later and then come back a week later. So normally I'd still have a week and whatever, and I come back on like the 18th. We changed it a little bit because long story short, the way vacation and holidays fell, it was better for me if I took it a week earlier. I would get 2 vacation days in one inside of my 2 holidays, company holidays inside of my one vacation. So it kind of worked out that way. But anyway, to show you why I don't usually come back until like next week, the 18th. Y'all know that I like to start this show usually after we have a little chat and we go through some of the comments. I like to, before we get to Saints stuff, I like to tell you just what's going on. I read in the morning, I read my Bleacher Report newsletter and my Athletic newsletter, and I go through some of the stuff on NOLA.com. Now, my Bleacher Report, to show you that there is no news right now, this time of year, here's my lead on my Bleacher Report newsletter this morning. If y'all don't get it, it's worth checking out. I usually look at it. I don't click on a lot of stories, but I'll look through it. The lead story is, quote, there's a new disruptor in the name, image, and likeness game. It's Texas Tech. The Raiders are all in on NIL. They've committed $55 million to their athletes this year, mostly to football. Blah, 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 blah. That's their lead. Some other stories that they're talking about is 5 to 6 teams still banking on Giannis. Number 5 story, we never even talked about it here. That's how important it is. The Pelicans did extend Herb Jones. I did see it in the comments. I meant to mention it. Other news, Tom Brady is not dating Sofia Vergara. Is that her name? I don't know. What is she, a model? That's top news. Najee Harris had a fireworks mishap. I mean, really? And then we've got The Athletic, which starts off with Cooper Flagg's missed dunk. That's where we are. That's the news on July 11th, sports news. Now you know why I take vacation for 3 weeks when I take, because you can only talk about so much, right? Again, Luke's I got a lot to ask. I really do. I just got a lot to ask. Again, the thing that makes sense to start Rattler, that's going to be in there. I got a list. It's like the 3rd thing on the list, so y'all be patient when we get. I just want to see if he's going to bring it up first. He's not in the green room yet, so I can ask that question. And then lastly this morning, before we have a little comment, a little something to brag about. First time that I ever entered this show into the Louisiana Sports Writers Annual Contest, we entered it into the Best Podcast category. And I'm going to do a little bragging on us here this morning. First time I ever entered. Show was named the state's 2nd best podcast. Now, we don't ever want to be 2nd best. We always want to be best. We'll strive for it. But for the first time that we entered, felt pretty good about it. So we'll win it next year. Then the Times-Picayune, speaking of Luke, who's coming on in a minute, Times-Picayune and the Advocate won several awards. Luke Johnson was named the Beat Writer of the Year and took home Story of the Year, feature on Darren Rizzi. Matthew Paris, our own Matthew Paris, was 2nd, and Cokie Riley was 3rd. We just blew it up. The Advocate won Best Section. And guess who was 2nd in the state? Of all the sections, of all the newspapers in the state, 2nd best section in the entire state was the little old St. Tammany Farmer. And I am super proud because some of you may know, some of you may not know. When I came over to bet.nola.com and 2021, I was already working for the Advocate, but I was the sports editor for the St. Tammany Farmer, which is a leg of the Advocate. It is the St. Tammany, basically, edition of the Advocate, community newspaper. And I am so super proud of those guys for being second in the state. All the big papers that are in the state, everything together, they do it as one now. Amazing that they were able to finish second. So Advocate won best section. St. Tammany Farmer was second. We won a lot of awards. And I'm going to brag. I am super happy about that. Charles says Sophia was on America's Got Talent as a judge. Okay, the only time I ever watched that is like on YouTube sometimes. I watched a lot of YouTube, by the way. That's what I did. When I was breaking, when I was just sitting around, I didn't watch hardly any TV. Besides LSU winning the Natty and some Cubs games, I did watch a lot of Cubs games. But there's nothing on TV anymore. Usually I binge watch something in the summer. I just didn't. I'm getting like my wife. My wife flips through. She watches TikTok. I don't watch shorts. Actually, long story short, I'm making it, you don't get too detailed. You don't care. Luke's coming on in about 3 minutes, but I don't know. I got interested in this. I think I got interested because she has so many followers. She's got almost 100,000 subscribers, but this woman that's living in her van, and it's van life, and it's like 3 years worth of, I just found her by accident, and she door dashes for a living and does YouTube and she literally lives in her van, turned her van into a bed. And I just found this so interesting. So now I kind of got hooked on that. That's what I've been watching on YouTube. Anyway, that's what you do during vacation. A-Town says he's on a vacation from his vacation. Barry wants to know Saints white helmets with what uniform? I guess they're going to wear it with the color rush. Then they can have white helmets and white jerseys and white pants. Guess. I don't know. Earl says my favorite. Oh, yeah. That also happened while I was gone. A-Rod signed with the Steelers. Man, they're going to be. I hate dissing on Mike Tomlin because I hardly ever do. I just think they're a mess. I think the Steelers are a mess in a really tough division. I mean, except for Cleveland, yes. But are they going to keep the streak going? Are they going to finish above 500? I don't know. I don't know when I'm going to get to the Steelers. That's going to be interesting. I don't know. Anyway. What else we got? David +1 #. Sophia was the young wife of Al Bundy on the TV show Modern Family. Her voice is like nails down a chalkboard. Well, maybe that's why Tom Brady's not dating her. I don't know. Mark wants to know, what is my take on the Pelicans keeping Willie Green while the Knicks fire their coach? I'm a fan of Willie Green. I've made that clear on this show multiple times. I'm actually trying to get Willie Green on the show. Working on it. It might happen. We're trying to make it happen. But I am a fan of Willie Green. And I'm not just saying that because I'm trying to get him on the show. I think he's a young coach who was in a no-win situation last year. And the Pelicans record went up for 3 straight years before it crashed last year. Big dog, Hakeem. What you doing here? Good morning. Welcome back. So I'm a fan. I think the Knicks firing their coach after they get to the Eastern Conference Finals is ridiculous. Everybody wants to fire. It's got to know it right now, man. It's instant gratification. That is the world we live in. Instant gratification. Brian wants to know, do I think the New Orleans Saints, this is a little, no, it's good. Do I think the New Orleans Saints will make the playoffs this year? How is my week going? First off, my week is going great. Glad to be back. It's Friday. We're coming back on a Friday. It means after today, we got a weekend off. Do I think the LSU men's baseball will repeat? Man, you're getting ahead of yourself. I'm going to give the positive first. LSU baseball, I think, is in great shape next year, even though, obviously, the pitching that they're losing quite a bit. They are rolling already. I think LSU is going to be in a great position to have a chance to win it. I haven't looked, Gabe. I don't know. Are there odds out on next year's College World Series out yet already? I don't know. Did they do that? I have no idea. He's going to look it up. I don't know. I would imagine LSU is going to probably be, if not the favorite, one of them. And as far as the Saints making the playoffs, absolutely not. I mean, there's not a lot of things in this world I'm shocked about. Shocked. I would be shocked if the Saints made the playoffs. I mean, even in this bad division, the only chance they have, I think, if they could find a way to start 2-2 with that brutal schedule, and I don't have the schedule here today. I usually have a slide for that, but we've already talked about it. Arizona, San Francisco at home to start. Okay. They're going to be underdogs in all 4 of their first 4 games. I mean, they're right as of now, they're underdogs in every game except the Jets, but they're going to be, 3.5 4-point dogs to Arizona at home in the opener. They're going to be a touchdown dog to San Francisco. They're going to be a touchdown dog at Seattle, and they're going to be a 2-touchdown dog at Buffalo. If they can find a way to win one of those 3 games, then maybe, who knows, maybe they can go on a run. Maybe they can get some momentum. They can win 2 of those 4 games, then I'm wrong about the season. Be glad to be wrong. All right, well, Luke's in the green room. So before we get to Luke and the rest of the show, let me tell you real quick about our friends at Evangeline Securities. Of course, they are a company that can help you decide if it's the right time to sell your family-run or privately held business. And just as importantly, can figure out what that business is worth. That is you or someone you know. It's time to reach out to Evangeline's founding and managing partners, Nick Braden and Ron Hemelt. They will start by scheduling a complimentary valuation from their offices either on Poydras Street or in Lafayette. And from there, you will be well informed to begin to make the decision on if you want to proceed. Nick and Ron never take a vacation. Well, I didn't confirm with them whether that's really true or not, but I know every time I reach out to Nick, he answers. So maybe he doesn't take a vacation. I don't know. Anyway, we'll ask him later. Does he take a vacation? And we'll answer more questions after we talk to Luke and before we talk to Gabe. But in the meantime, you can check him out at www.evangelinesecurities.com. All right. It's 11 days from the start of camp. And my biggest question for Luke Johnson is, when the hell do you take vacation, sir?
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do, especially when we're trying to make sure that one of the beat writers is here in case like catastrophe strikes during the dead months of the summer. But my colleague Matt Paris and I figured it out. I went on vacation the end of June. I got back on July 4th. He went out like the first week of July, and he gets back next week. And Duncan like held down the fort for us in the like in between when we were both on vacation. But I'll tell you what, man, I could use a little bit more of it. I'm not really looking forward to my life just disappearing into a black hole for the next 5 months. But yeah,
man, that's what's gonna happen. It could be 6 months. Let's be positive.
Sure.
By the way, congratulations, LSWA Beat Writer of the Year, Luke Johnson. Congratulations on that. I know you also won another award for your feature on Darren Rizzi. So congrats on that. Well deserved, my friend. Glad to see it.
Thank you, man.
All right. I'm going to start out with the most important question I have this entire offseason. And it's, what do you think of the new helmets?
I love them. Look,
do.
I'm not really I'm more of a traditionalist when it comes to uniforms. Like I think like 95% of the teams out there would be doing the right thing if they just like went to their original uniforms, you know, like the Broncos, the Dolphins. Right. Yeah. I love like the 70s and 80s design. So like, I'm not really big on like making these big changes to uniforms, but I love these helmets. And I think it's because they're just basically the traditional helmets with white and some really subtle changes to them. I hated the black helmets. Could not stand it.
Really? See, I'm okay with those. I didn't necessarily love the weird thing that they had going on in the middle.
Hey, it's like, I think I would have liked them better if they were like matte black, but they were like black. It didn't look right with any of their uniforms, and the stripe. I hated the stripe.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the stripe.
I would have even maybe been okay with the stripe if it wasn't like 1,000 mini fleur-de-lis.
Yeah. Well, this one has that too, and I don't love that. I don't know.
But it's subtle. You know, that's what I like about this one. It's like you have to really get close to the helmet to see it.
All right, enough of the helmet talk because I'm trying to squeeze. Like, I don't usually write a script. I usually just write a couple words, like for questions I want to ask. But I actually have some detailed questions. I'm gonna try to fit them in 20 to 25 minutes. So let's go. And obviously, let's start with clearly will be the top story heading into camp. And it's not only is Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler going to be the starting quarterback, but will either of these guys become the potential starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints for potentially the next 8 to 10 seasons? And I know I'm asking a lot, but so those are two questions kind of in one. We won't know the answer to the latter until obviously this season's over probably. But what is your feel on the situation going into camp?
Well, to me, like throughout all the summer, I think it was pretty close to a 50-50 split between them. Like, I don't think you could really choose one or the other. And I think if that sort of thing continues, where if one is clearly not better than the other, then I think it's got to be Tyler Shuck, right? For all the normal reasons, like this is this regime's handpicked quarterback. I think there's a lot of reasons you just want to see what you got in him in that case. I don't know if that's going to be the case after training camp, though. I mean, one of them might really separate themselves, and I think we saw last year during the like the OTAs and the mini camp phase where Spencer Rattler really looked like he was struggling to kind of adjust to the game. And then he improved a lot by training camp. Like everything kind of slowed down for him. He wasn't late on his throws. He looked a lot better than he did in like May, June. So right. I'm curious to see if we see a similar jump for Tyler Shuck, who's, obviously like the benefit of drafting a player like Tyler Shuck is he's more mature. He's seen a lot more stuff. There are positives to him being a 25, 26-year-old rookie. So if we see that, I think Shuck is the guy. But like, I'm not ready to write off Spencer Rattler. Like, they said going into the summer that it was going to be 3-man competition. I've already written off Jake Haener. Like, I just don't think that's
wow. Yeah, I mean, and like you said in your story about the quarterbacks about a week or so ago, I mean, he was already not going to have a great chance to win it anyway, and then missing the entire summer with an injury. I mean, that pretty much just writes him off.
Yeah, I think so. And I just don't think I think in the right situation, Jake Haener could be a fine starting quarterback. Like he'll be a couple games, but like I think he's just got some severe limitations that would really prevent him from being like the guy.
Right.
So I think we just got to see. It's going to be interesting to see like what they look like under pressure. I think that was one of the big knocks on Tyler Shuck coming out of Louisville is he looked great when everything was clean, but like when it wasn't, he kind of panicked a couple times. Will be interesting to see if they're able to coach that out of him a little bit. But I think just from a pure skill standpoint, I really, really like Tyler Shuck's game. He's like, there are guys where it looks different when they're throwing the football, and Tyler Shuck is one of those. And Rattler's got some really good skills to his game too. Like, not writing him off, but Shuck is like a different type of player.
Well, I feel the same way about going into the season, and it obviously, to me, in the grand scheme of things, makes more sense. I mean, Kellen Moore drafted Tyler Shuck with the 40th pick of the draft. Spencer Rattler, and I've said this before, was a 5th-round pick from the Dennis Allen regime. I mean, it just makes more sense. However, and I've been critical of Spencer Rattler in the past, but I'm going to say this. Y'all have talked about it a little bit on Saints Insiders. By the way, Saints Insiders, their own YouTube page. You can check them out. NOLA.com as well. NOLA.com/sports/Saints. But y'all have talked about the possibility, and I'm going to say maybe even the sensibility of starting Spencer Rattler in week 1 because, and again, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I think it's still more likely than not that Tyler Shuck starts. But if they started Spencer, if they decided to go with Rattler, if he's good enough to lead, it's a kind of a no-lose situation almost. If he's good enough to lead the Saints to maybe 2 wins or look really good and win 1, obviously the toughest part of the schedule is those first 4. They can win 1 or 2 of those first 4, then he keeps the job. If not, you can kind of ease Shuck into an easier spot to succeed when the schedule gets a little bit easier after week four instead of after week 4 instead of running through that gauntlet.
Yeah, I think the only pushback I would have, because I think that's just generally like solid wisdom, just approaching the quarterback situation in general. But I think the fact is like they've got to see it this year, because like if it tanks this year and they're awful and it's clear that they don't have a quarterback in the room, then like there's nothing preventing him from taking a quarterback in top 5 next year. So that's like the only pushback I would have is like, if they think Shuck's the guy after training camp, instead of like easing him into it, it's like, look, see what you got. You know, and maybe that's not fair for a young guy coming into his career, be like, hey, you've got one shot to prove what you got. But I think that's kind of the situation they're in. They didn't invest a top 10 pick in Tyler Shuck. You know, they don't have to ease him in. They have to see what
Correct.
So now, same token, like they might just think Rattler's the better quarterback out of training camp, and they might want to roll with him to start. And then, you know, maybe you see what you got in both of them. But like, to me, if it's like even or Shuck's ahead, I'm starting Shuck and I'm seeing what I got.
I agree 100%. I've been saying that for weeks. That's probably what's going to happen. It makes the most sense. And that's, you know, I think what we're going to see likely. That kind of leads me into my last question on the quarterbacks. And again, I'm referencing to a story you read about a little over a week ago, kind of breaking down what was going on in the position. You say, and I'm going to quote here, the optimists will look at this group and be thankful the Saints are finally getting a young, cheap reset at the position with some hope for the future. The pessimist, in parentheses, realist, which is what I am, will be scared off by the lack of proven experience and draft pedigree. I, along with just about every person with money who makes a living betting on the NFL, not that I make a living making money betting on the NFL.
Sure you don't.
I fall in the latter category. Play the role of optimist and tell me why this Saints team won't be in the exact same situation as you were talking about this time next year with someone they draft early in the first round of the 2026 draft.
So I think there's one thing to me that actually makes me a little bit optimistic about just this offense in general. Like, I mean, first it's Kellen Moore. He's never been a head coach play caller before, but history of success throughout his entire run as a play caller. 4 top 10 offenses in 6 years calling plays. You know, he's kind of like got this reputation as a pass guru, but like 4 top 10 rushing offenses. He's had a couple that led the league, and it's not just what happened in Philly last year. He's done it in Dallas too. So I think that raises the floor. And then I think the offensive line has potential to actually be pretty good if they can stay healthy. Big if, because they haven't been able to stay healthy in the last couple of years. But like, I think they could have a league average to above league average offensive line, which I think sets a floor. And that to me is why like you could just get an opportunity to see what they can do without it just being in complete shambles around him, like it was for Spencer Rattler last year. I mean, look, he might not be a good quarterback, but we have no idea.
That's true.
What happened last year, because he was throwing a bunch of street free agents behind a bunch of undrafted offensive linemen. It was a terrible situation. And I think
the only thing that worries me about him, though, in doing that, and I agree with you, it's hard to tell exactly what you got because, I mean, he was running around for his life half the time. But and like you said, with like at best a number 3 receiver as his number 1. But him not being able to check off of that first read, I think was his biggest problem. Can that get better? Maybe. But I would like to say, I would like to, you led into, I would like to see what he can do with this offensive line, Luke, because I really think on paper, this looks like the best offensive line since Drew Brees left.
I agree. I think Trevor Penning is going to be
I did too.
At least solid at guard.
I agree.
Just logically, like that position just seems to fit him, even though he's kind of big for the position. I think that
it's not as complex.
It's not as complex. He's not going to be in space. His strengths all align with that, like what he's going to be asked to do there. So I think he's going to be good there. I really like Banks. Like, obviously we got to see it. We haven't seen them do any sort of contact stuff in the summer. So we got to see it. But I like the idea of Banks. I like the idea of Fuaga going back to the right side. Eric McCoy, to me, is the key to all of this.
Yep. Got to stay healthy.
He played five games last year where he played 70% of the snaps or more. They went 4-1 in those games, and they scored 35 plus in 3 of them. Like, he's really, really good. And especially when you're dropping a young quarterback in there, to have a guy who's going to be handling the protections, who's going to be like getting the offensive line where it needs to be and taking some of that stuff off the quarterback's plate, I think it's going to be so key. And McCoy has stayed healthy in the past. It's just the last couple of years he's been dinged up by like soft tissue stuff, and last year was a little bit different.
Yeah, people like to say that left tackle is the most important position on the offensive line. Some say the most important position other than quarterback on the field. I actually think it's center. And I've said that if you don't have a center, to me, you don't have an offensive line because the center is usually the captain of the offensive line.
Especially with a young quarterback.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This leads into a comment I wanted to know. Brian Cabot says, any scoop on Lyle Collins signing? I've heard this before. I mean, this is a rumor. I don't know why the Saints would do that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's interested in making a comeback, and he sees like the Saints as a potential destination for him. I'd be skeptical. And even if he did come back and sign, like, I don't know what his role is going to be. Like, you know, they've already gone out and signed a left guard and Dylan Radins, who has more recent starting experience than Lyle Collins. Who, I mean, it's been years since Lyle Collins was like a functional player. And they're seeing what they got in Trevor Penning, which again I think is going to be a good move. And if it's not, they've got Radins there as a backup.
And that's what I was going to say. If that's another great thing that this team didn't have last year. It had no depth on the O-line whatsoever. And if something happens, if Penning doesn't work out, or if one of the tackles gets hurt and Penning has to shift back to tackle, then you got Dylan Radins that can come in and fill in left guard. That's why you have to feel better about this O-line. We may not feel better about what this record or what this offense is going to do as a unit, but it's about growing from week 1 to week 18. And I think they have a real chance to do that this year.
I agree. Now we'll see if the defense can actually make that.
Yeah, we're going to get to that. Before we get to the defense, though, I want to ask you about how do you feel? We talked about depth. Where they don't have a whole lot of depth, really, is at running back and wide receiver, and that could pose a problem. You know, y'all. I don't remember whether it was you or Matt that wrote the story about what's behind Alvin Kamara. I think it was you.
It was me.
Okay, so I mean, you look at that list and look, it's not great. Let's just put it that way. I mean,
it would look great in 2021.
Right. I mean, but you know, Alvin Kamara, great, fantastic. He's Alvin Kamara. He is what he is. And he's 30. Is he going to keep doing what he's been doing? We'll find out. But that's not what concerns me. What concerns me is Kendra Milligan. I mean, he's got to get another chance. I mean, you got a 6th-round pick that's coming in there. You're trying to salvage Clyde Edwards-Helaire, maybe Cam Akers, who's coming off 2 ACL injuries. I mean, just the depth there is what's scary, even more than the wide receiver position.
Yeah, and I think there's a chance they're just like not done there, right? And I think they realize that they might have a problem at running back. Look, they were kicking the tires on Nick Chubb before he signed with Houston.
Right.
They ended up signing Cam Akers, who it's been a while since he's been like a difference maker at running back. And I said this on our pod earlier this week, but like, if you told me like Kendra Miller is going to run for 800 yards this year, and you told me like Kendra Miller is going to be cut at the end of training camp, I'd put like 50-50 odds on both of those.
Really?
He's like boom or bust to me, because like the ability is so clearly there, but like everything else is not. He can't stay on the field. He's missing assignments when he's on the field. So he's even when he's healthy, he's not staying on the field because they're taking him off. If for whatever reason, like Joel Thomas comes in, he's able to get like, something to click in his head and say, this is how you got to play ball. Like, I think he could be a really, really, really good compliment to Alvin Kamara, but like, we haven't seen it. And he's been here for 2 years. He's played like 8-9 games.
Well, right. And that's what I said last year, going into last year. And then what was it? Was it the first day of camp that he got hurt, or the second day? It wasn't.
First day of camp.
First day of camp. And I'm like rolling my eyes. I'm like, I really wanted to see what this dude, because I'm actually kind of fired up about
minutes into the first practice.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So like, look, I like the idea of Devin Neal. We don't really know like what he's going to look like until they go out in training camp. They start doing like real practices. Like, the running backs behind the offensive line, the running backs were the hardest ones to evaluate. All we saw was individual drills. Like, that doesn't teach you anything. There was like a clip rolling around Devin Neal looking terrible in individual drills. Like, again, doesn't mean anything. Like, can the guy play ball? Like, can he pass protect on third down? I think we're going to get a lot better idea of that. But like, you just don't know. And Kendra Miller is like boom or bust. You have no idea. Cam Akers is coming off multiple injuries, hasn't been a great player in the NFL for a while. Clyde was let go by the Chiefs midway through their Super Bowl run. So like, there's a lot of different ways that can go, but it just feels like that's something where they're not really finished there. They don't really think they're done.
Well, we know how much Kellen Moore puts on the running game. I mean, even when he had pass heavy offenses and, was turning Dak Prescott into an all-pro, I mean, he still needed the running game, still used the running game. So, I mean, obviously, last
And
year. How important.
Last year, notwithstanding, obviously, like Saquon had like 350 carries or whatever last year, but you look at his Dallas offenses; they all featured two backs pretty heavily.
Yeah, Alvin Kamara is not capable. I mean, I don't mean this in a bad way. He's just not capable of having 350 carries. He can't do it at his age, and I don't think that's ever been his strength. Now, they may find ways to get it, screen pass, throw the screen pass of the backfield more and give him the 60 or 70 receptions that he's done in the past, and maybe it all equals up to 300. But, I mean, you can't realistically say that Alvin Kamara is going to have that many touches.
No, and he shouldn't. I think this has been something that like I've been saying for years as, somebody who's just like a casual, right? But but when Alvin Kamara has been at his best, obviously it was early in his career. It's like prime age for running backs. But when he's at his best is when he's getting like 15, 16 touches a game versus 20, 25. You're taking a little bit of the wear and tear off him. He's a more explosive player. Like he's not like a grinded out 20, 23 carry. He's done it, but like holding up over the course of a 17 game season, like, I mean, you can bank on him missing like 2, 3, 4 games every year.
No doubt about that. Our friend Terrence is here. He says center is the most important position. He agrees with us. A-Town Jackson wants to know, could the Saints bring in Leonard Fournette, and does he still have tread on the tires?
No. No. Like
that's the answer. That's all you need. I agree.
I mean, they weren't interested in the last time he played was 2 years ago.
I don't even know if Leonard is, and I've known Leonard since he was in high school. I just don't, and I haven't seen him in a while, but I don't know if he's interested in playing anymore.
He's tweeting about the College World Series. Seems like he's just living life and enjoying
it. He's completely fine. All right. We got to let you go soon. I got to real quick when I talk about the defense. Obviously, we're talking so much about offense because that's where a lot of this focus is. But defensively, it wasn't that long ago where maybe a year or two ago where the Saints not only had one of the best defensive back rooms in the league, but suddenly at best they're mediocre. There's not a ton of depth there either after Alontae Taylor and Kool-Aid. I mean, what has happened at defensive back? And is there what's up with Asante Samuel Jr.? Is there a possibility still? I saw his dad's getting in a fight with Miami, so maybe that throws them out. What's going on at DB?
Well, we should know something fairly soon on Asante Samuel. Like he's got a medical checkup with a doctor in the next week, and if he's cleared, he should be ready to sign with the team. Maybe get in for first day training camp. We know the Saints are interested in him, and we know they have a connection there. With him spending his first couple of years under Brandon Staley with the Chargers. So like. To me, like they've got $26 million in cap space or something like that. Like that is something that like overpay for a year. Give them the Chase Young deal. Be like, look, nobody's interested in you this offseason, even though you're a 25-year-old corner looking for your first real contract. Let's get healthy, come in, show us you're healthy. We'll sign you to a 1-year deal that has some like performance escalators in there. And then like come out, play ball, play well, and you'll get rewarded next offseason when he's going to be like 26 or 27 next free agency cycle. That to me is like the perfect deal. Give him like a 1-year, $8 million deal that can go up to 12. Come in, play ball, be healthy, lock down one of the starting cornerback jobs because it is a need reform.
Yeah, right, for sure.
And that's where they're at perfect health right now. Yeah, like even in those years where they were really, really good at corner or 5 deep, even in those years, like they ended up having to sign like Chris Harris off the street out of retirement to come in and play starting reps for him. So like that's a position where attrition like definitely happens. Like those guys get soft tissue injuries all the time, and you don't want to be in a position where like right now Quincy Riley's maybe your third corner, and then Ike Ottam is then your third corner, and then you're like, okay, Rico Payton's coming in on dime. Like it's like a really scary proposition for me. They need to add somebody there still.
If you're going to have a chance to win one of those two first 4 games we talked about with the dawning schedule, it's not just quarterback. Obviously, whoever the quarterback is going to have to play better than we think he could possibly play. But I mean, you're talking about offenses. Kyler Murray's coming in the opener. San Francisco's, I guarantee you, they're going to be pretty close to back to form. Go to Seattle, which is going to be better. We'll see how they are. But Buffalo, I mean, those 4 teams, all have pretty good offenses, and you're going to have to be able to stop the pass.
Yeah, but like also, I mean, we gotta remember here the Saints were the number 31 rush defense in the NFL last year.
That's true.
Cardinals, 49ers, Seahawks, Bills all love to run the ball.
Yep.
Were all excellent rushing offenses last year. That to me, like secondary, yes. But I'm a little like they need guys in there, but like I'm a little less concerned about it just because of the style of defense that Brandon Staley is going to play with a lot more zone than they've run in the past. I think you can get away with some stuff doing that. But like if those guys up front aren't improved in this defense, if Devon Godshaw is not going to add to their base defense and give them some run stuffing, like they are going to have a really, really hard time defensively this year.
And the Saints have historically, even when they were decent, have struggled with mobile quarterbacks. Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, 2 of the first 4 games they're going to play. That doesn't exactly bode well for having chances to win either. All right, last thing here, Luke. We're 11 days away from the start of camp, and your life ends for, like you said, 5 months, maybe longer. Who knows? What are you most positive about going into look? One thing that we can say for sure is, even though we don't expect the record to be, I mean, any realistic person doesn't expect this Saints team to have a winning season. Okay, I mean, let's be realistic about it. However, the difference going into this camp, the past couple camps, is it's change, right? And in this case, change is most certainly good. No matter how you look at it, even if you're taking a step back at certain positions or whatever, we can talk about the lack of depth at certain places. For this team to get good in the long run, you had to have massive change, and they definitely have that right now.
Yeah, no, I'm really confident in Kellen Moore being a good head coach.
Yeah, me as well.
And I think that I was a little scared off by like his personality. I wasn't sure how that was going to work in the head coach role when they hired him. But since I've gotten a chance to like get to know him a little bit, I think his personality comes off differently in a press conference than it does one-on-one. And I think he's got the respect of the team right now. Obviously, like that's going to get tested if they go through a tough season, like we're kind of expecting. But I think he's really smart. I think he's got an idea for what he wants to do with the team. They were kind of put into a rough situation with Derek Carr unexpectedly retiring, and they're like, okay, I guess we're just going to go into the season with a young quarterback. But I do think that he's got like the right idea for how to do it, and he's assembled a really, really good staff around him. So even though like I don't think they're going to be good this year, I don't think they're going to come remotely close to contending for the playoffs. I think they're going to be like a feisty team. And I think we're going to see some really good stuff out of Kellen Moore that gives you some hope for the future.
And Luke, really, the only thing that's important, and I mean, obviously, you always want to win, and I'm want to say that I'm never going to want to lose on purpose. But I really think the only thing that's important for this particular team is looking better from week 1 to week 18. I think as long as they get better, in the grand scheme of things, the record really doesn't matter all that much.
Yeah, I mean, look at Carolina, right?
Right.
Carolina last year. Coming into the season, everybody's like worst team in football. They get waxed by the Saints in week 1. I think they were like 1-7 when they
Bryce Young lost his job.
Bryce Young lost his job. Number 1 overall pick lost his job, and then they close the year really, really strong. And people are kind of a little excited about what's going on with Dave Canales.
Exactly.
And Bryce Young over in Carolina. So I don't think the Saints want to necessarily be on that track. I don't think they're like a 3-win team bad. Where they start the year on like an 8-game losing streak. But like, I do think you're right. Like show by the end of the year that you got some stuff figured out. You got some young players that you can count on. Look, 2 years from now, they're going to be in great position salary cap wise, as long as they don't just like mess it up, which like, fingers crossed.
I don't think they're going to this year. I know people give Mickey a lot of grief, but I think we've already seen the signs of that's what he's going to, and he knows, and they can give him grief all they want, but I think he realizes, and I think all of Saints Drive realizes that that's where they need to go.
I agree. So I think, look, get through this year, show some progress, show you got some good young players in the building. That's something they haven't had for a long time, right? Have some of these draft picks hit, and go into next year feeling pretty good about where you're like what direction you're trending for the future.
All right, well. Find a way in the next 11 days to at least take a couple days here and there and enjoy. You and Chelsea have dinner or whatever. Just enjoy it and, clear your head before these 11 days start, because then there's it's just go, go, go after that.
Yeah. I'll kiss my 2-year-old daughter goodnight and say I'll see you in January.
Maybe you'll watch a Brewers game or two. By the way, they're getting a little too close to the Cubs. This is not fun. I'm not enjoying it.
Game and a half feels good. Maybe the Miz is looking great. Did you watch the game tonight?
12 strikeouts in 5 innings, dude. Yeah. Who is this dude? Get him out of here.
He was a former LSU commit, by the way. LSU
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and I actually was gonna see him pitch at Delgado.
Wow.
In the postseason tournament. And like, his team ended up losing. He didn't pitch in the next game, but yeah, he got drafted straight out of JUCO, and he's awesome.
I'm not a fan of this Mizuyoras, whatever his name. I can't even say it. It's too low. We'll just call him the Miz. But yeah, I'm not a fan. The Brewers are too close. We'll enjoy the rest of the baseball season. More importantly, for our fans here on Dattitude, football starting in 11 days. We'll talk to you soon. Luke, get some rest, and we'll see you later.
Sounds good, Jim. See you later, man.
All right, man. Thank you. Luke Johnson, everybody. Yep. Look, our people, and I'm not just saying this, I'm biased, but we didn't win best section for nothing. Our beat writers are as close to the grind as anyone, and I mean anyone. I don't care who you listen to. I don't care who you read, listen to, whatever. Nobody is as close to this team and knows what's going on more than our Saints insiders do. NOLA.com/sports/Saints. Luke Johnson, Matthew Paris, Jeff Duncan, Rod Walker, editor Zach Ewing, all of them. Love them. And we thank Luke for taking time out. Come on. Gabe's going to come on in a little bit. But look, and thank you, Terrence, by the way. Terrence says he hopes everyone listens. All that matters. And I'm being serious. And you know how I am. Anyone who's listened to me for a long period of time knows what I think. To me, in the grand scheme of things, the only thing that matters is the win-loss record, right? But in this case, it's a rare case where it's different. I want them to win. I'm always going to say winning beats losing. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. However, what matters more than anything is that this team gets better from week to week to week. I'm not going to root for if they've got 4 wins going into week 18, and it means the difference between the 3rd or 4th pick in the draft and the 8th or 9th pick, I'm still going to root for them to win because that's who I am. However, I'm just going to say this. I just don't think it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things. What matters is they get better, and we need to see improvement every week because this fan base is going to get excited. I mean, it's hard to believe you can get excited about a potential 4 or 5 or 6 win team, but you can. You can get you can. You really can. Like Brian Cabot said, don't forget to hit the like button. Yeah, I know. Terrence says he's not worried about the wins and losses. All right. We're going to talk more about Saints. We're going to end the show with saying, I have no idea what Gabe's going to talk about. He's been on vacation. He's coming on in just a minute. So we're going to spend our last 10 minutes of the show talking about Saints and taking your comments. But first, we told you earlier we would let you know more about how, oh yeah, by the way, definitely subscribe and like. You see when our next show is. That's just a new slide I added in, just to remind you, if you didn't already know, to subscribe and like. And also to remind you about Evangeline Securities and how they can help you figure out what your family-run or privately held business might be worth and whether it's time to sell. How do they do it, you ask? Well, thanks for asking. You haven't asked in 3 weeks. After their complimentary valuation of your company, if you decide to proceed, native New Orleanians Nick Braden, Ron Hemelt, and the folks at Evangeline will begin an extensive auction process from among established private equity funds from around the world. We're going to maximize the return for the founder and his or her family. Evangeline Securities, the top producer on their platform. There are very few companies like them in this area. Go ahead, try to find them. You can't do it. None of those companies have their dedication and success. They are fully licensed. They're ready to serve you. So get in touch with Nick and Ron about what's really important. It's not that it's 11 days till camp. It's not going to be what the Saints' final record is. What is really important? It's the life. You can find them at www.evangelinesecurities.com. All right. What's up? What's up? I'll tell you what's up. Fridays with Gabe Henderson. That's what's up. A little new graphics here. I try to. It was hard to find you smiling, by the way. I had to go through.
Not surprising.
I went through. It took me a little bit, but I finally found and got the exact right screen grab of you smiling. And I think it was you were telling me I was wrong about something.
That sounds about right.
And you were smiling, and there we go. So welcome back, my friend.
Thanks. Good to be back.
Vacay. You spent it in New York, upstate New York.
Yeah, upstate New York.
You're telling me it was not the weather you were expecting now.
No, it wasn't. It was a little hotter than usual, but you know what? That's okay, because the one thing that I asked, and I don't mean to be a greedy sports fan, but I had 2 teams playing in championships when I was up there, and I said, you know what? All I want is one. All I ask for is one title. I don't think that's too much to ask, and I got both in the same day, so that was a lot of fun.
Charles says he's glad you're back. He's glad you're
Charles.
back.
Good to be back.
UBN says if you talk soccer, he's out. So we don't want to lose UBN. Sean wants to know, do I think there's possibly an under-the-radar offensive and defensive player that may have a breakout season? Let's see. On offense, breakout season. See, it's hard to define. What do you define the term of breakout, Gabe, first off? I mean,
I think it's a case-by-case thing.
Yeah, it is kind of a case. I am with Luke. I am going to go out on a limb, and I did this last year and regretted it, but I actually think Kendra Miller is going to play a significant role on this team. I think he's going to stay healthy for the most part. I think he'll miss a game or two here and there, but I don't know about 800 yards. That might be asking a lot, but I do think Kendra Miller is going to play a significant role in this team. So there's my my offensive breakout player. Defense, I'll get back to you on that. Terrence is right. Cowboys were 1-15 in 1989. They were building something. You know, I don't know that the Saints can build that, but look, I mean, you and I have talked about the Saints before, and your thoughts of you living in Houston, and I like to bring it up because you are an outsider and you can judge rationally and without bias about, look, I mean, would you agree that the main thing, what's important is this team improves from week 1 to week 18? I mean, your Houston Texans were in a similar spot a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I've said, if I was a Saints fan, the one thing that I would be hoping for is, record thrown out the window. It doesn't really matter how many games they win this year. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, so it's pretty much irrelevant. Yeah. I'm not going to say you almost want to lose games, but for the future draft stock, you almost want to. The biggest thing is in those losses, you want to be competitive. You want to see the young guys grow. You want to see a core start to form. And really, I think the offensive line is something that you're going to look at. And that's right. That could be what you measure success on this season.
I agree. And before I get to asking you about what's going on, UBN, have we seen Brown's first 6 games? We think the Saints schedule is rough. Look at that. And I actually have it up. First 6 games, actually their first 7 games, because I think Miami's going to be better. They start off with versus Cincinnati, who I think is going to be much better this year. Spoiler alert. At Baltimore, versus Green Bay, at Detroit, versus Minnesota, across the pond, and at Pittsburgh, and then home for Miami. And it gets a little bit easier after that. They play at New England. They have a bye at the Jets versus Baltimore, at Vegas, whatever, versus San Francisco. And they finish with Chicago, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati. The Browns could be god awful this year again.
They will be.
That's bad.
It could be. I think they will be. It's
got to be
that's really tough. Yeah, for sure. But when you're looking at it through the lens of you're the Cleveland Browns, every schedule is going to be tough.
That's going to be tough. All right, what you got from me?
Franchise.
What you got from me this morning? I didn't have you on just so you could talk about the Saints. I know you probably got something up your sleeve. You've been on for 3 weeks. LSU wins its 8th natty. We're 11 days from most teams opening camp for real. Some rookies report next week to some teams. What is on the mind of Gabe Henderson?
One thing you forgot to mention is the Houston Astros having one of the best records.
I didn't forget to mention. I just purposely failed
despite having one of
failed to mention.
One of the lengthiest injury lists in baseball.
I'm
not even kidding. They fielded a AAA team and they put up 18 in LA.
You didn't care.
Where's Big Sean?
I said something about the Astros not long before we went on vacay. But I think I remember you saying something along the lines, I don't even care about the Astros. Something along those lines. Yeah.
I might have said I don't care about them right now because it's June.
Oh, okay.
And LSU baseball was on, the Thunder were on, soccer's on. But I mean, we're starting to get into as you mentioned earlier, there's nothing going on right now. The MLB takes front and center. It's kind of like how you don't care about the NBA until after Christmas.
I don't care about the NBA hardly ever. Okay. I care about the Pelicans.
Okay, let's talk about that.
I actually do care. But go ahead. I mean, actually, because we never really.
Can we talk about that catastrophic trade?
That was a horrendous trade. However,
horrible.
It was really bad. It was I don't care what anybody says. It was a really, really bad trade. And if you don't know what we're talking about, the Saints, the Pelicans traded up with the Hawks. They gave up a potential, and we don't know what it's going to be. So it could end up looking okay. But just the value of the pick of what they traded to the Hawks, giving up a potential top 5 pick. Whoever's picks better. The Pels have the Bucks and their own first round pick next year in the 2026 draft. And they traded whichever one's better. They traded that one to the Hawks to move up from 23 to 13. And I'm just not a fan. I mean, the player could be great. It's fine. And he looked great. And I think he had a double-double. I think he had a double-double in Summer League game yesterday or whatever. But just the value of that pick alone, you just don't do that.
Well, there's one word that matters most when it comes to that pick. That pick was unprotected.
Yeah.
There are no protections on that pick.
Yeah.
So if the Pelicans go out and they have a bunch of injuries again, and it's a lottery system, so you never know.
Correct.
They really they've got 2 shots at the number 1 pick, and if they were to get that number 1 pick, it's no longer theirs.
Don't get me started.
It's such a bad trade.
We will talk about that more in the future.
In the middle of the first,
I'm going to include the Pels into some things going forward, even in the summer here going forward. And I really am working on trying to get Willie on the show. But I mean,
let me ask you this,
Jim.
Jim.
That did that.
Let me ask you this: do the Pelicans with Derek Queen? Do the Pelicans even have a puncher's chance in the West to compete with teams like Oklahoma City or Houston?
No, but I
don't think they have a shot at
all. But I think they have a chance to be like a 6/7 seed somewhere around there.
So you'll get wiped out in the first round by
I think that
Kevin Durant or the reigning MVP.
But they're young. And I think they've taken the right steps overall. I hate the trade, but overall, I think they've taken the right steps toward revamping this team, getting younger and moving forward. So that I am kind of happy about it. Look, a couple things real quick. Brian says the Astros beat the Dodgers, then they lose 3 to Cleveland, and now have Texas with a Jake Myers injury.
They haven't had Jake Myers for weeks. So,
Charles
do you remember when the last time the Astros were swept by Cleveland at home?
I have no idea.
2017.
Okay. 2017 was when they won. Was that the banging of the garbage cans?
That was the World Series year.
Banging of the garbage cans?
LA was doing it too.
Okay. Never mind. Looney and Poole are great pickers. I agree. I like both of those. Do you think
Poole is an absolute mess?
We'll see. I like it, actually. Do you think Stroud's going to struggle again this year? I don't either. I think he's too good to struggle.
Yep.
All right.
He didn't struggle when it mattered most last year.
What else you got before I move? Because we're gonna start making this show a little bit shorter if we possibly can. I don't know. I don't know if I have it in. I don't know if we have it in us, but we're gonna try. I know you got. What are you gonna close out this week? We come back from vacation. We're all fired up, ready to go. What are you gonna close out with me? A pick? It could be an observation. It could be something that happened with you. I want you to go out on this Friday strong.
I mean, if you want to pick, I like the Padres as home underdogs tonight.
All right. I don't even know who they're playing. Who are they playing?
They're playing the Phillies. They're
Trying to get Tatis
plus
right now.
140 at home.
The Phillies have been kind of weird. They've been so up and down.
They've dropped
lately.
2 of their last 3 on the West Coast, but then they dropped 13 the other night. Charles, Jordan Poole's been away from Draymond for years, and he's been a mess. So,
You think what do you think can fix him? You think he can be fixed?
I think he needs a bunch of veterans around him. I think he needs a coach who kind of reigns. He's like the Tasmanian devil on the court. That's what he's like. I'm not even kidding.
But I think that could be it. I actually think that this team needs life. Okay. One thing there will, and look, don't get me wrong, I love CJ McCollum, but some of these players that they have are just kind of bored. Even the good ones, it's kind of bored. They need life. So maybe.
Yeah, but what's Jordan Poole gonna do? I don't think he'll start.
I think he's going to play quite a good bit. We'll see.
I'm not saying playing quite a bit and starting different.
All right. Silver Gator says he likes the Cubs over the Yankees. Hope he's right, but I don't. We'll see.
I also hope he's right. I have the Yankees win total under this year.
And
I also like
they're teetering, right?
Byron Buxton to win the home run derby.
But those odds are, wasn't he?
Plus 1,000.
Oh, okay. All right. I like that then.
10-1.
I can tell you from watching him in the series this past week, dude can hit. And he's
yes, he can. And he's playing in front of a home crowd. He's from Georgia. So
okay. All right. We will see you on Monday. So glad to have you back. I'm so glad to be back.
Good to be back.
See you Monday.
Sounds good.
All right. A couple Saints comments, and then we're going to say goodbye. Apathy says, hot take. Doesn't care who shines in training camp. He's ignoring every report other than who gets injured. I hear you. I need to know, though, because, look, I don't think you can overblow this quarterback situation enough. And I know, of course, it's going to get talked about a whole lot, but I think in this case, the hype is real. We need to know. I don't think you could possibly know in training camp whether one of these guys has the potential to be your quarterback for the next 4, 6, 8 years. But you can get a feel of whether one of these quarterbacks has a chance to be one of those things. And look, I don't have a lot of hope and confidence about that. I really don't. I want to be wrong. I want one of these guys to prove me. I would love for Spencer Rattler to go. And I already told you why I think it's probably, I don't think it's going to happen, but why I'm starting to buy into if it does happen, I'm like, okay, I can get it. I understand why. If they do, if Kellen Moore decides to go in the long run with Spencer, we're going to a lot of talk about this for the next month and a half. If he decides to go with Spencer Rattler, I'm telling you, it probably won't be the worst thing in the world. Simply because, like I said, that gauntlet, first four in the schedule, if the Saints go 0-4 and it's with Rattler, I mean, I'm not saying you throw in the Wolves and, I hate to say it, but Tyler Shuck is the guy you want to be the quarterback. And if the Saints go 0-4 with Tyler Shuck at quarterback and he stinks up the joint, and then you got to switch because you're forced to switch to the guy you don't necessarily want to win the job. You hear what I'm saying? It's a lot different. And conversely, if the Rat goes out there and starts and the Saints win 1 or even possibly 2 of those first 4, and he looks great and he wins the job and he just straight up wins it, well, good. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. A-Town back to the Pelicans. If Zion can stay healthy, you can see the Pelicans be a 6 or 7 seed. Look, I said this again. I am on WDSU's show with Fletcher Mackel. Game On. It's called Game On. It is on Sunday evening after the 10 o'clock news. And we spent about 5.5 minutes talking about Saints over-under wins, what I think about that. And I'm just going to give you a spoiler alert on the Pelicans. I talk about Zion specifically and say that I think that him being a veteran, like he is now a veteran. It's hard to believe this young dude. Is he going to take? I think he's going to take that next step in his career. I just said that maybe call it a gut feeling. It's nothing that I've seen. I have the gut feeling that he's going to take that next step with this new administration. Willie Green's still there, but with this new administration. That's what I think. Let's see. Charles says Poole's going to come off the bench. Yeah, sure, of course. Still good. A-Town, what am I take on New Orleans possibly getting an NHL franchise? Houston's going to get one first. I don't look, as much as I would love it. I would love to see, even if it's minor league hockey, I would love to see hockey back here in New Orleans. I really enjoy hockey. When the Brass were here, I went a lot. I thought it was great. I just don't know if this city can support an NHL team. I'd like to think that they can, but I just don't know that they can. Silver Gator says the Saints and Pels need to be more like the Cubs, who have started a full team of first-round draft choices. They have definitely homegrown some of their own. I don't necessarily agree with the way the Cubs have done, because they kind of tanked it after 16, winning the World Series. Here we are 9 years later, and they're just good again. It took them 9 years to be good again. That's too long. Fans don't have the patience with this football team to wait 9 years for them to be good again. I just don't think so. Sean says Peyton Manning stunk it up in year one, so shuck it. Comparing Peyton Manning to Tyler Shuck is a little, I'm going to be polite and say absurd. Or what movie was that? Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. No. Earl's Pick says he likes what he's seeing from Shuck taking to New Orleans. He still isn't. He's left practicing with the wide receivers. Look, I am all for Tyler Shuck going out and enjoying the city of New Orleans. You notice I didn't mention the name all day long. I'm trying to start this whatever. What are we doing? We're going into a new season. We've really officially turned the clock, turned the page on the last quarterback. But why do people get so excited? I've seen so much crap on social media. See, Tyler Shuck's already done more. He's going out and he's eating at Drago's and he's going to this playground and he's done that. The last guy didn't necessarily go and eat some of the things. Maybe he just didn't like that kind of food. But he was out in the community more than people give him credit for. And who cares anyway? What does that have to do with winning? Just saying. I don't know. I just hate the complete and utter contempt and hate. This team wins, goes like 5-12, and I'm not saying they will, because I don't think they will. I think they will get better. I like Kellen Moore. I think I'm with Luke. I think positive thoughts. I think Kellen Moore is going to be very good for this team. But if this team goes like 5-12 for the next 3 years, I'm still going to feel it. If neither one of these quarterbacks, if they both stink, not saying they will, not saying they won't. If both of these quarterbacks stinks, you still going to be thrilled that Tyler Shuck's out in the community? No, you're not going to give a rat's ass. You're just not going to care. Daryl Romero, welcome back. Hopes I had a great vacation. Always the best show. Thanks. No, thank you. Thank you for being back. A-Town, is the Shriner Airline still open, or is it just there collecting dust? It's open, and they have, I think, the Louisiana or the NOLA Gold play rugby there, and they do have prep football games there. And I hear there has been talk that we hear Day's back again. They are talking about potentially making some big changes and turning into an all-purpose facility. Because right now, even though they're playing prep football there, it's hard to. The configuration isn't great. Let's just put it. Sight lines are terrible. They are talking about making some major changes to the Shriner Airline. I think it would be great for the area. Not just NOLA Gold obviously would love it, and prep high school football enthusiasts would love it. I think it'd be great. Let's see what else before we go off the air here. No, I know, Sean. I'm not making fun of you. Not making a comparison. I didn't mean to make fun of you. I'm just saying, just in general, comparing Tyler Shuck to anyone that's anything is a little crazy at the moment. I understand saying let the rookie takes his lumps. You know, I think the rookie is going to take his lumps. I just do. Charles says we got the best podcast. Best show and podcast by far. Thank you. Again, second place in LSWA. Next year, we're going to be the best. We're going to be the state's best podcast next year. And he says I should go nationwide. I have no desire, my friend. At my age, this is something maybe 20 years ago. If this was all around 20 years ago and I was doing that, maybe. I'm just a sports writer turned podcast / loudmouth. And look, we're on YouTube. Theoretically, we already are nationwide. We were talking about people. There were people from Delaware and California watching the show earlier. I forget where else. Las Vegas. Mark Gapsky's in Vegas. I don't even know where all of you are, but we're already kind of national anyway. Last comment of the day before we say bye-bye. Obviously, where Shuck eats, and even more importantly, what he orders matters so much more than being a winning quarterback. I know you are being facetious, my friend. I get it. Next show is Monday, 11 a.m. We are back to our regular schedule. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 11 a.m. Central Time. We have next week. I think Monday's probably going to be Mono-y Monday. I'm not 100% sure yet. It depends on if I may or may not ask a guest to come on Monday. We'll see how it works. Even if someone comes on, it'll still be kind of a Mono-y Monday. Wednesday, I know Fletcher Mackel is going to be here, and I don't know who's going to be on next Friday. And that is the week leading up to camp. Next week is our last week of shows before the new season really starts. I mean, because when you get into training camp, it really starts, in my opinion. I've never been a fan of preseason, but we're going to start the NFL, our NFL previews. Again, if you weren't listening to me before, I know a lot of you have watched the last few years. I've been doing NFL previews, and I preview each team. Last year we did it. We did it as like we did it division by division. I'm going back to doing it team by team this year, but I'm doing them as shorts. I know for 2 years in a row, and we were. It's so hard. It's so detailed and comprehensive to do a 10-minute preview on each team. So we're going to do 3-minute shorts on each team. Again, that is going to start probably. I'll give you a date next week, but it's probably going to start beginning of August, first week of August for sure, if not at the very end of July here in a couple of weeks. But that's it. Next week we are for real. But as I get a little verklempt, that means it's time to go. That is going to wrap it up for us on this Friday. We are back, baby. I want to thank today's guests, Luke Johnson, Gabe Henderson, and you. You are always our guest. We can't do this without you. I hope you like the new graphics. I hope you like how we're trying to change some things up, get a little bit more simple. We are going to try to start shaving some time off of the show. I went back and looked during the break at some that we had some 2-hour shows. It's a little too long. We're going to try to go back. I know like Fridays when we have our betting / preview show, which we're going to do on Fridays this year. Those shows might just be long by nature. It is what it is, but we're going to try to cut back to 1 hour and 15-ish. We'll see how it goes. But again, Mono-y Monday, and then Fletcher Mackel on Wednesday. A reminder to subscribe, as you see on the screen if you're watching. Subscribe and like our Dattitude YouTube page. Click the little bell to receive notifications when we go on the air live. Again, which is every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 11 a.m. Central Time. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, including Apple, Spotify, and many more. And also, always find a replay of the show on NOLA.com/sports. You can find me on bet.NOLA.com. Find our Saints Insiders on NOLA.com/sports/Saints. Everyone have a fantastic, glorious, albeit hot weekend. We will see you Monday. It is so good to be back. Take it easy, my friends.